In the cold lands of the north, where snow buries secrets and thunder splits the sky, there live gods who bleed, betray and burn. These are the Norse gods, divine beings not of peace, but of war, wisdom and doom. Their stories are ancient, their legacies eternal. These are 10 Norse gods you should never mess with. In the shadow of the World Tree, a man hangs by the neck, not as punishment, but by choice. His name is Odin, and he is dying to know the secrets of the universe. The tale of Odin doesn't begin with power, it begins with sacrifice. To the Norse, knowledge was never freely given. It had to be earned, torn from the roots of Yggdrasil with blood and pain. So Odin, king of the gods, ruler of Asgard, father to gods and men, tied a noose around his own neck, stabbed himself with his spear Gungnir, and let his body hang for 9 nights without food, drink, or rest. 9 nights of visions, torment, whispers from the void. On the final night, the runes revealed themselves, ancient symbols that held the power to shape fate, to command reality itself. He fell from the tree, reborn, not just a king, but the All-Father. But Odin's hunger didn't stop there. He plucked out his own eye in exchange for a sip from the well of Mimir, waters that granted cosmic insight. In return, he gained knowledge of the future and saw his own doom, a blood-drenched battlefield called Ragnarok. Instead of hiding from fate, Odin prepared for it. He raised armies of the dead in Valhalla. He sent out Hugin and Munin, his ravens, thought and memory, to spy across the 9 realms. He forged alliances with giants, monsters, and even sorcerers, all in a desperate bid to stave off the end. But the end was inevitable. He doesn't crave immortality. He craves understanding. Odin is not just a war god. He is a god of secrets, sacrifice, and grim determination. And when the wolf Fenrir finally opens its jaws, Odin will stare into the beast's eyes and not blink. When thunder cracks and the sky shakes, it is not the weather. It is Thor, son of Odin, crashing through the heavens with fire in his veins and fury in his heart. But Thor isn't born into peace. He's born into war. Even as a child, he was too wild for Asgard. His strength, terrifying. His appetite, endless. His enemies, countless. From the moment he lifted his first weapon, Thor was a force of raw, untamed power. His hammer, Mjolnir, was forged in the heart of a dying star by the dwarves Brokkr and Atri. It was a gift and a curse, so heavy that none but Thor could lift it, so dangerous that every strike shattered the earth. The handle, short due to a mishap during forging, only made it more brutal in close combat. Thor rides across the sky in a chariot pulled by 2 massive goats, Tangrisnir and Tangnostur. When they die, he simply blesses their bones, and by morning they live again. Even his meals defy death. But what makes Thor truly feared is not just his strength. It's his willingness to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. He's not noble like Odin or cunning like Loki. Thor solves problems with a hammer to the skull. When the giants tried to trick the gods with deceit and riddles, Thor showed up and broke bones instead of solving puzzles. When the World Serpent Jormungandr taunted him with threats from the depths of the ocean, Thor rode out alone, cast his fishing line into the dark sea and pulled the beast to the surface. The two locked eyes, Thor's blazing with fury, the serpent's glowing with ancient malice. He raised Mjolnir to strike, but the cowardly giant he was with cut the line in fear. The serpent sank back beneath the waves. The battle was postponed, but not ended. Their fates are bound. At Ragnarok, Thor and Jormungandr meet again on the battlefield. He strikes the final blow, killing the monster that coils around the earth. But as he turns to walk away, he takes 9 steps before collapsing. The serpent's venom had already entered his blood. Even in victory, Thor dies. But he dies laughing, hammer in hand, surrounded by corpses of giants. Because Thor never feared death, he only feared boredom. He is thunder. He is destruction. He is the storm the giants' prey never comes.
There's a grin before the storm, a whisper in the shadows, a laugh behind your back. That's Loki. Born of a frost giant, yet adopted by Odin himself, Loki was never truly one of the gods, and never truly one of the giants. He belonged everywhere and nowhere. With a silver tongue and unmatched cunning, Loki could talk his way into or out of any situation. He shapeshifted into birds, horses, old women, even fish. He once turned into a mare, seduced a magical stallion, and gave birth to an 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, which he gifted to Odin like it was a normal Tuesday. But Loki's mischief always walked a razor's edge. One moment, he saved the gods from ruin. The next, he doomed them. When Sif, Thor's wife, slept peacefully, Loki snuck in and cut off all her golden hair, for fun. Thor nearly shattered his bones in rage, so Loki promised to fix it. He tricked the dwarves into forging new golden hair, along with other gifts. Odin's spear, Freyr's ship, and Thor's hammer, all of them treasures, all of them cursed. But the worst came later, when Baldur, the beloved, unkillable son of Odin, became immune to everything. The gods made a game of throwing weapons at him. They laughed. Baldur smiled. Loki didn't. He discovered that mistletoe had not sworn to spare Baldur, so he carved a dart from it and placed it in the hands of Hodder, Baldur's blind brother. Hodder threw it. Baldur fell dead. The gods went silent. This was no prank. This was war. Odin's fury was unmatched. Loki fled, changed shapes, hid across the realms. But the gods hunted him down, tore him from his illusions, and bound him to a rock deep beneath the earth. There, they placed a serpent above his head. Venom drips into his face, burning his flesh. His wife Sigyn catches the venom in a bowl, but when she turns to empty it, the drops hit. Loki writhes. The earth shakes. Earthquakes are his screams. But even that is not the end. At Ragnarok, Loki breaks free. He leads the giants and the dead against the gods. He kills Heimdall and is slain in return. His final laugh echoes through the ruin of the world. Because Loki doesn't want to win. He wants to watch everything burn.
If beauty had a blade, if love wore armor, if magic had a queen, it would be Freya. She is the goddess of fertility, love, passion, and war. Not a contradiction, an embodiment. Freya rides into battle wearing shining armor and a cloak of falcon feathers. Her chariot is drawn by 2 giant cats, sleek and silent. Men fall for her. Gods worship her. But she bows to no one. Her most prized possession is Brisingamen, a necklace so beautiful it makes kings weep. Forged by 4 dwarves, it came at a price. Freya spent a night with each one to earn it, not out of weakness, but power. She knew the cost and paid it without shame. But Freya is more than seduction. She is the first and greatest practitioner of Seidr, Norse magic. It's a deep, primal force that bends fate and stirs the soul. She taught it to Odin himself, though others feared it. It was too wild, too feminine, too real. Freya rules the Hall of Folk of Anger, where she receives half of those slain in battle. The other half go to Odin's Valhalla. Warriors don't choose where they go, Freya does. And she often chooses the fiercest, the boldest, the most passionate. She weeps golden tears for her missing husband, Oth, who vanished into the unknown. Her sorrow fuels storms, her longing breaks mountains. But don't mistake her tears for weakness. Freya walks calmly into fire and commands the dead. She is love, but love that scars. She is war, but war that sings. To worship Freya is to invite chaos wrapped in beauty, and to face her in battle is to die twice.
In a world where gods trick, boast, and break oaths, Tyr stood alone as a god of law, sacrifice, and steel. Before Thor lifted his hammer, Tyr was the bravest of the gods. He was the war god of old, one-handed, grim-faced, fearless. His greatest moment was not on the battlefield, but beside a chained wolf. Fenrir, the monstrous son of Loki, grew larger by the day. No chain could hold him. The gods feared what he would become. So they devised a plan: forge a magical ribbon called Gleipnir, thin as silk, strong as fate itself. But Fenrir was no fool. He agreed to test the chain, only if one of the gods placed a hand in his mouth as a sign of good faith. Silence. Then Tyr stepped forward. No trick, no hesitation. He extended his sword hand and stared into the beast's golden eyes. The chain tightened. Fenrir struggled. It held. And then, crunch. Tyr did not scream. He did not weep. He pulled back a bleeding stump and said nothing. That day Tyr lost a hand, but earned eternal respect. At Ragnarok he faces Garma, the Hound of Hell, and both are slain. A fitting end for the god who lived and died by honour. Tyr is not flashy, he is not loud, he is the quiet courage behind every hard choice, the god who bleeds so others may live. Some say the brightest flame burns quickest. In Baldur's case, it was true. Baldur was the most beloved of all the gods. He shone like the sun, walked with grace and spoke with kindness. No darkness touched him, no hatred followed him. Even the gods, who were no strangers to rivalry, adored him. But perfection is fragile. One night, Baldur began to dream of death. Shadows crept into his visions. Blood spilled on golden fields. Frightened, his mother, Frigg, raced across the realms, begging everything: fire, water, iron, stone, beasts, men, to swear never to harm her son. And they all agreed. Everything, except mistletoe. It was too young, too small, too innocent to matter. The gods turned Baldur's invincibility into a game. They threw spears at him, shot arrows, swung axes, and nothing could harm him. He laughed, they laughed. Immortality was entertainment, until Loki found out about the mistletoe. With a smile too wide, Loki carved a slender dart and approached Hodder, Baldur's blind brother. He placed the dart in his hand and whispered, "Join the game." Hodder threw. Silence. Then Baldur collapsed, dead before he touched the ground. The gods stood frozen. Odin's heart shattered. Frigg's scream cracked the sky. They tried everything to bring him back. Hermother, Baldur's brother, rode into Hel's realm to beg for his return. Hel agreed, but only if every creature in the universe wept for Baldur. And they did. Even stones and trees cried. Except for one. A giantess refused. Or was it Loki in disguise? Baldur remained in the underworld, and the sun never shined quite the same again. His death marked the beginning of the end, the first domino to fall toward Ragnarok. Because even gods cannot escape fate, especially the ones who seem untouchable.
They say knowledge is power, but for Frigg, knowledge was a curse. Frigg, wife of Odin, was queen of the Aesir, not by submission, but by wisdom. She wove the clouds and watched the threads of fate spin across the loom of time. She knew the future. She knew the end. But she never spoke of it. When Baldur began dreaming of death, it was Frigg who panicked. It was she who journeyed across the realms to shield him. It was her tears that begged the world to spare her son. But she forgot one thing: mistletoe. Some say she overlooked it. Others say fate made her forget. Either way, it was a single leaf that unravelled everything. When Baldur died, Frigg fell silent. Her magic was vast. She could see things even Odin could not, but even she couldn't undo what had been done. Her palace, Fensalir, became a place of mourning. No lies can be spoken there. It is the realm of truth, where sorrow hangs like fog. And yet, Frigg endured. She is not the weeping mother stereotype. She is steel wrapped in velvet. Her strength is quiet, unshakable. She does not rage. She does not strike. She simply waits for the day her son returns in the new world after Ragnarok. Because Frigg knows something even Odin does not. That love, once lost, may still be reborn.
He hears the snow melt, sees the wind shift, guards the gods from the end of time. Heimdall stands alone at the edge of Asgard, watching the rainbow bridge Bifrost. He does not sleep. He does not blink. His senses are so sharp he can hear grass growing and see 100 leagues away. He was born from 9 mothers, sea maidens, and raised to be the ultimate guardian. Gold shines in his teeth. His skin gleams like morning light. He is not a warrior by choice, but by design. He carries Gjallarhorn, a massive horn that echoes across the 9 realms. It has never been blown, because its sound means the end is here. And when it comes, Heimdall is the first to act. At Ragnarok, when Loki arrives with his army of giants and dead men, it is Heimdall who sounds the alarm. It is Heimdall who draws his blade and charges into the chaos. He meets Loki in single combat, 2 opposites, order and chaos. They strike, bleed, stagger, and they kill each other. Heimdall dies with honour, knowing he fulfilled his purpose to the last breath. A guardian who never failed. A watcher who never flinched. In a world of betrayal and madness, Heimdall was the one constant, vigilant to the very end.
She is not a villain, she is not a saviour, she is inevitable. Born to Loki and the giantess Angrboda, Hel was cast into the underworld by Odin himself. One half of her face was living, pale, beautiful, young, the other half rotting, dead, hollow-eyed. The gods feared her appearance, they feared her power, so they sent her down, far below the roots of Yggdrasil, to rule the realm of Helheim, the land of those who died of old age, sickness, or sorrow. She embraced it. Hel does not scream, she does not chase, she waits, cold, patient, eternal. When Baldur dies, it is to her he is sent. She agrees to return him if all things weep. But when one creature refuses, she smiles. Baldur stays. Not because she's cruel, because rules matter. Unlike Valhalla's glorious dead, Hel's realm is grey, endless and quiet. There are no feasts, no battles, just the slow truth of death. But at Ragnarok she will rise. Her ship Naglfar, made from the fingernails of the dead, will carry her legions across the sea of corpses. And the living will tremble, because Hel does not bring punishment, she brings balance. Wind in the sails, salt on the lips, gold in the tides. Njord is the sea made divine. Father of Freyr and Freya, Njord is the Vanir god of the sea, wind, trade and prosperity. He brings calm to the storms and riches to those who respect the ocean. But even gods long for love. He once married Skadi, a frost giantess who sought a husband as part of a truce with the Aesir. She was to choose her mate by the beauty of his feet. She thought she chose Baldur. She got Njord. He loved the coast, she loved the mountains. He hated the cold silence of the snow, she loathed the crashing of waves. They tried to split their time, 9 nights in the mountains, 9 by the sea. It didn't work. Their marriage ended quietly, with sorrow and distance, but not hate. Njord returned to the sea where he belongs. Sailors whisper his name for luck. Fishermen pray to him for bounty. Merchants thank him when the winds shift in their favour. He is the whisper behind every wave, the silence before a storm, the promise of return. Njord may not battle giants or command fire, but he keeps the world turning, and that, in the end, may be the greatest power of all.